Now that you know all about the data layers and have been introduced to the tools available to you, I'll be taking you through some scenarios to help you get better acquainted with the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. So in the past, the FAA has notified interested parties on new aeronautical studies with a postcard. However, in the last couple of years, they have initiated an electronic notification process that many of you are now receiving. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to insert a batch entry of these structures using the email you received. The first thing you'll need to do is go open the email you've received from the FAA. The email comes through looking exactly like this email. Now I want you to remember this format. We have the case numbers, whether or not it's circularized for public comment, if it's a determined case, what city it is related to, and the lat and long information. Take a brief moment to look at the structures listed, then click on one of the links. Once that link opens, pay close attention to the height. Then close the link and go back to your email. Notice that you have everything you need to map your structures in the email, except for the height. We just noticed the height when looking at the form. Next, we're going to need to copy and paste this information into an Excel spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and do that. To copy and paste the information to an Excel spreadsheet, you'll first need to select the information found on the email. Then you can do a right click, copy, go to Excel, and do a right click, paste, and all of your data is now inside an Excel spreadsheet. But remember, we needed to add the height, so let's go to J1 and type in 440 as our height, and then we can fill down by coming to the lower right hand corner, getting our skinny black crosshair and double clicking, and it'll fill down to the very last row where there is data. To copy and paste this information, you will need to go to cell B1 and click and drag all the way down to J23, and then do a right click, copy, then go back out to the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool, and you'll want to click on the very first tool available to you. Once that tool is clicked on, we can go over and use our batch button. So go ahead and click on that, then come down here to the black area and do a right click, paste, and all the data that we copied from our Excel spreadsheet is now input into the Kansas Airspace Awareness Tool. Let's go ahead and define the structure that we'll be putting on the map. So click on the drop down arrow and let's choose windmill. Then go down to the lower right hand corner and choose the first icon to map the structures. You now have a map showing you all the proposed structures. We now need to take a closer look at what you just placed. The first thing you can do is click and drag with your mouse to pan over and take a look at all your structures plotted on your map. Next, roll with your roller ball to zoom in. And notice that you see an actual avatar of a windmill. Your roller ball, then move your mouse down to get into 3D rotational view so you can see all of the structures that you plotted in a 3D image. Now let's zoom back out and see where it is located in proximity to an airport. Now we will begin to use our data layers. We need to go over to the left-hand side of our screen and turn on the CFR Part 77 airspace surface by simply checkmarking the box to the left. Now that you have the CFR Part 77 airspace surface turned on, you can zoom in and notice any structures inside of the red conical surface. They might be obstructing the airspace. Let's scroll close to one of them in the red, if there are any, which I see 3. And then go ahead and click and hold your roller wheel and get into 3D rotational view so you can see just how much of the windmill is penetrating the air surface. That was for batch entry. Next, we're going to place a single structure on the map. If you have the lat and long information, you can simply input those coordinates. If you don't, you can click where you want the structure and then enter the desired height and place your structure. So the first thing that you'll need to do is go up and click on the first tool to add a structure on the map. Then you will need to specify the height of the structure. In this case, I'll put in 300 feet. Once you put in the specific height, you'll need to go down and define the structure by clicking on the drop-down arrow. In this case, I'll be choosing elevator. Now notice when you hover over your map, you see an icon following your cursor. At this point, you can choose anywhere on the map to place your structure. Once you find a spot, you can click one time and your structure is plotted. On any structure you have plotted, you can click the blue circle icon above the structure. This is where you will find lat and long information, airport information, as well as a green button you can click on to go to the FAA Notice Criteria tool. Once you click on the green button, you will be taken to the FAA's website. Once you're on the FAA's website, you can take a look at the information below. Notice that all the information about your structure auto-populates into these fields. Then you may need to click Submit to see more information. Once you click Submit, scroll down on the right-hand side of your screen and take a look at the additional information. Notice that the FAA requests that you file. You will need to go and file a 7460-1 form for this particular structure. Once you are done reviewing this information, go ahead and close the web browser and make sure that you're back on the Kansas Airspace Awareness tool. Go ahead and click anywhere on the screen. Once you are done with your plotted structures, you can simply go and remove them by clicking on the first tool on your toolbar. Then go to the right-hand side and click on the red trash can button to remove all added structures from the map. You can then click on the green button with an X on it to close the Add Structure window. Next, I'm going to show you how to zoom to a particular location. In order to do this, you will need to click on the fifth tool on your toolbar. Due to the size of my monitor and settings, I'm going to go to the lower right portion of my screen and scroll to the right using my scroll bar so I can see my entire toolbar. In this case, I know I want to go to the wind farm near Ellsworth, so the first thing I need to do is click on the first drop-down arrow next to Zoom To and choose Wind Farm. Then go to the right, click on the second drop-down arrow, and as soon as I click near Ellsworth, it'll automatically zoom me to that location. Now that we are at the wind farm near Ellsworth, we should be able to see all of the wind turbines, as well as their shadow, but they are hard to see. So if we were to turn on the obstructions data layer, we'd be able to see them better. So let's scroll back to the left, using our scroll bar at the bottom of the screen, and then go turn on the obstructions layer on the left-hand side by checkmarking the box. There we go. Now you should be able to better see your wind turbines. If you want to see where the nearest airport is to this wind farm, you can turn on the CFR Part 77 airspace surface. With that turned on, you can zoom out just a little bit and see exactly where the nearest airports are. Next, I'm going to zoom back into my wind farm. So click anywhere and zoom back in. You may have to pan over a little bit. Once you are close to I-70 and can still see the wind farm, I'm going to show you how to get into street level view so you can get a closer look. To do this, you will need to go to the right-hand side of your screen and click and drag the man icon to I-70. In this case, I'm going to drop him right here. It'll automatically zoom you in. Then click and drag as if you're panning over to see images of the wind farm. Once you are done in this view, you can go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen and click on the button that says Exit Street View. Earlier, I showed you how to do a batch entry as well as plot a single structure with no known coordinate. This time, I'm going to show you how to plot a single structure using the coordinates from the email you received. So the first thing you'll need to do is go and retrieve the lat and long information from the email. Once you have retrieved the lat and long information from the email, click the sixth tool on your toolbar. And because I can't fully see my toolbar window, I'm going to go down to the lower scroll bar and scroll to the right so that I can fully see that toolbar window. Now we can go input our coordinates into the calculator. So in this case, I'll be typing in 39, and then I can tab over, then 23, tab over, 3.51, go below, and I'm going to type in 99, tab over, 20, tab over, 44.70. Once you get the coordinates put in, then you can go down the lower portion of the tool and click on the drop-down arrow to define the structure. In this case, I'll be choosing windmill. I'll also need to go in and put in a height. So in this case, I'll be putting in 440 feet for the height. Then I'm going to come over and click on the Add button. Once I click on the Add button, my structure will be plotted and it will zoom me to that location. Now I'm going to scroll back to the left side of my screen to turn on the CFR Part 77 airspace surface so I can see where the nearest airport is located. Now I'm going to zoom out to better see my location. Then I'm going to go to the left-hand side and turn on my contacts for vicinity layer. Now when I hover over my structure, I will automatically see contact information for that area. Now, let's go and measure how far a structure is from I-70. In order to do this, we need to go back to the wind farm near Ellsworth. So click on the fifth tool on your toolbar. In the first drop-down, select wind farm. In the second drop-down, select near Ellsworth. As soon as you click on near Ellsworth, it will automatically zoom you to that location. Once here, we will need to go to the left-hand side of the screen and turn on the obstructions layer so we can better see our structures. Now, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, as well as pan over until I find a structure that's close to I-70. There's one. Let's measure the distance that the tower is from I-70. Now, let's zoom in a little bit to this location. And I'm going to pan up and zoom in just so we can get a little closer to our structure. To measure the distance, you will need to go to the fourth tool on the toolbar. Then hover over your map. Notice that you have a protractor following your cursor. Now you're going to need to click one time where you want the measurement to begin. Then in this case, I'll click next to the tower to end my measurement. Now take a look at the toolbar. It displays your distance for you. You can even come over here to the right-hand side and click on the drop-down arrow and change it from feet to meters to miles or kilometers. For questions or more information, you may contact the Kansas Department of Transportation, Division of Aviation by phone at 785-296-2553 or email them at k.aviation@ksdot.org.